This video is brought to you by Squarespace. When it comes to websites, online stores, etc., there's no place to build a beautiful online presence like Squarespace. You know, I was planning on doing a Lyle Lyle Crocodile video this week, but when I went to see Lyle Lyle Crocodile, it was truly like the most fine movie I've ever seen, and I was like, well, now what am I supposed to make a video about? And I looked up in the sky and I saw it. Airplane movies. Airplane movies are an important thing that nobody ever talks about. No, I'm not talking about movies about airplanes. Sorry to all my wing heads out there. I'm talking about movies you watch on the airplane. Think about it. Even 40-year-old finance guys who haven't been to a movie theater in like 10 years need something to take up the time when they're on the air on the way to that incredibly important meeting. Oh my God, what are they gonna watch? They're gonna come across Nightmare Alley, a movie they would never in a million years even consider watching. They didn't even know it existed before this, and they might just throw that thing on. I recently had a few long flights myself, and it dawned on me that finding the right airplane movie is not an easy task. They got options these days, and I want to run down a few things to look for when you're looking for the perfect airplane movie. Let's get the obvious stuff out of the way first. This thing has to be long, and I mean chunky. I mean, you do the math. The longer the movie, the more time it takes up in the flight. The quicker it feels like you arrive to your destination. Everybody's happy. Forrest Gump, no matter how you feel about that movie, is like the perfect airplane movie. It's long, it keeps things moving. It's not a movie you gotta think too hard about. There's not a lot more to it. I'm really over here breaking a sweat trying to figure out the deeper meaning behind why long movies on airplanes are good, but guys, it really just takes up time, and that's what you need up there. But, and listen to me carefully, not all long movies are great on the plane. If you're like, man, I've never seen The Godfather, maybe this flight to Amsterdam is when I finally get the chance. No! The Godfather isn't a great airplane movie in my opinion. Why? I know this is gonna sound ridiculous, but the brighter the movie, the better. The Godfather is a fantastic movie, but so many scenes are in some pretty dark rooms. Nobody wants to watch The Godfather and then find their own reflection lurking in the corner of the room and go, damn, now I'm in the family. Let's be real, the airplane entertainment devices they give you up there, no matter how high-tech they're getting, are not the best quality. The blacks are always too black, and I end up losing a lot of detail in the image, and oh my God, what am I gonna do if I can't see the image? And worse, it just turns into a reflection, and I truly don't think I've ever looked worse than when I'm on hour 3 of a flight, and you can see the death in my eyes. Usually brightness is not even something I think about. It doesn't really have any effect on my viewing experience. Unless I'm in a theater, the screen quality is most of the time going to be not the most ideal experience, and that's just something we gotta live with. But for some reason, when you're on an airplane, every little detail is irritating and gets in the way of your viewing. If the screen is too dark and I'm essentially just looking at myself and this little thing in front of me is the only thing keeping me remotely entertained, I'm gonna start going crazy. So when picking a movie, consider something bright and colorful. So now you're like, okay, if I'm deciding between, let's say Hereditary and Midsommar, I should go with Midsommar. Well, hold that phone, Jimbo, because that leads me to my next point. I love watching things that nobody should have to watch as much as the next guy, but movies with disturbing content might belong on the ground. I recently watched Gone Girl on my way home from Iceland, and although most of this felt like the perfect airplane movie, being that it was simply a mystery that you easily get wrapped up in, once that one scene, and you know the scene, once that scene happened, things got very uncomfortable. The sweet old man next to me with the longest eyebrows I had ever seen kept shaking his head, and I had to be like, sir, it's an essential scene. Even scenes that don't feel necessarily disturbing can be uncomfortable on an airplane. I recently watched Everything Everywhere on the way to Sweden, and as great as that movie is, watching the butt plug fight scene with a sweet old woman next to me just felt wrong. If you don't get easily self-conscious, maybe this isn't a big issue for you. But for a guy like me, if I'm gonna constantly feel like the person next to me thinks I'm a big freak weirdo, that's just gonna make the whole thing less escaping and more uncomfortable. Now think about that word I just said, escape. You want something that will invite you in and walk you right through. This doesn't mean it has to be a mind-numbingly dumb movie, although those work too. But if you're in an airplane, you want something just simply entertaining and distracting. Parasite. Parasite is honestly a great airplane movie. I don't consider some of it too disturbing. It's a decently long movie, it has relatively bright colors, and my God is it easy to get sucked into that one. You could look at it from a hyper-analytical lens, or you could just let the film guide you through a very entertaining story. I recently watched Turning Red on a flight, which was also a fantastic airplane movie. Most films meant for families are really good plane movies because they move at such a fast pace and have to keep things as airtight as possible for younger viewers. Pair that with the bright, vibrant colors and you have yourself a very entertaining time in the air. A few years ago, I had a flight to Paris and decided, you know what, let's download Ingmar Bergman's 3-hour epic Fanny and Alexander for this flight. And while I love Bergman and did enjoy the first 30 minutes of this on the flight, This was a terrible idea. These longer art house films deserve better viewing experiences, not those where you're in an uncomfortable seat watching it on a tiny screen and next to an impatient child. It's easy to snap out of these slower, more meditative films, so just don't even bother trying with them on a flight. Lastly, keep things familiar. While a flight may very well be the perfect time to catch up on Oscar-nominated films you were never going to get around to in any other setting, if you're looking to unwind and blow through 2 hours, throw on something recognizable. Throw on a childhood favorite like Legally Blonde or Finding Nemo. Honestly, the longer and more familiar, the better, because I feel like the more you rewatch a movie and the more familiar you are with the story, the faster it blows through, and that's more time spent on the plane that you didn't have to think about. Flying can be extremely lonely. You're most of the time without internet and sometimes on your way to a place you've never been before. You're sometimes seated next to a complete stranger in a seat that can be ridiculously uncomfortable. You're up there missing your own bed, your friends, your home, your family. Why not ground yourself a bit with a classic comfort watch of yours? Unless your classic comfort film is like Martyrs, in which case you shouldn't even be allowed to board the flight. And I think that's all I have, so I hope that helps you with your next flight. As always, thanks for watching. Go watch a movie on an airplane and form your own opinion, and before you head out. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Squarespace. Now, Squarespace, if you didn't already know, is a place where you can go online to build your brand, whether that be an online store, a blog, a portfolio, you name it. They have professional portfolio designs where you can create galleries for your work, as well as password-protected pages for clients. I personally love their video block feature, which allows me to showcase some of my favorite videos and films in a way that looks really nice. Plus, they have a built-in mobile web designer, which makes it so that any website you make will look great no matter what platform it's on, while still matching your style. But the best part about it all is that if you go to squarespace.com/Karsten, you can get 10% off of your first purchase. So seriously, fellas, there's no reason not to give it a chance. So thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Thanks for watching this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.